If you watched left-leaning cable news over this holiday weekend, you almost certainly saw hosts and guests bring up the idea that former President Trump could be disqualified from the 2024 election based on the 14th Amendment. But what they aren't really saying is that there's no chance it's going to happen. I mean, it seems to me it is a liberal pipe dream which the left-leaning outlets seem all too happy to spoon-feed their audience. Now, it's actually a compelling argument, but it's just that, an argument. What they aren't saying is that there's no way the Supreme Court's going to agree to keep Donald Trump off the ballots. The media frenzy over this cranked into overdrive after a piece a few weeks ago in The Atlantic, jointly written by conservative former federal judge Michael Luttig and left-leaning constitutional law professor Lawrence Tribe. They argued the Constitution prohibits Trump from ever being president again. Now, the argument leans on the following passage, and this is important to actually pay attention to this, from Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. It says, quote, "No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state, to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof." So, top election officials in numerous states acknowledged they're looking into, this is in blue states, keeping Donald Trump off the 2024 presidential ballot, including Michigan's Democratic Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson.
I think this is a critical issue. It's an issue that is not going to go away anytime soon, and it's one we have to, and we are taking very seriously, because the arguments for disqualification are quite strong.
But maybe they are. Giving aid or comfort, pretty broad, right? One could certainly make the argument that former President Trump did at least that. And one could certainly imagine a Democratic election official, such as the Michigan Secretary of State, trying it, right? Democratic election official could certainly score lots of points and lots of time on MSNBC and CNN if they actually move to disqualify the former president. But here is the issue. If that happens, this will wind up in the United States Supreme Court. And does anyone think that this court, with its current makeup, would ever allow that to happen? But that hasn't stopped MSNBC and CNN from talking like this is a thing, it's going to happen. Just the past 5 days, MSNBC and CNN have combined to mention the 14th Amendment in this issue 190 times. That's nearly once an hour on each network. Show after show, entertaining the dream.
The U.S. Constitution pretty clearly disqualifies him from holding office.
You've said a couple of times that Trump tried to carry out a coup, he tried to overthrow democracy. Doesn't that mean he meets the criteria in the 14th Amendment?
Legal scholars left and right are lining up behind the position, the interpretation of the Constitution, that Donald Trump is already disqualified.
It does seem like the 14th Amendment is very clear. I think that it's pretty clear that it does bar them, and I'm optimistic.
Not surprisingly, the former president has used this issue to further the narrative that he's the subject of a political witch hunt, writing on Truth Social, just another trick being used by the radical left, communist, Marxists, and fascists to again steal an election. Their candidate, the worst, most incompetent, most corrupt president, is capable of winning in a free and fair election. But even ignoring the possibility that this may be bad politics, the proponents of this idea can't possibly think that they'll actually win in the United States Supreme Court, can they? Let's ask Corky Messner, former Trump-endorsed Republican candidate for U.S. Senate in New Hampshire. He is now among those leading the push in New Hampshire to lobby the Secretary of State to disqualify the former president from the ballot. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. What am I getting wrong here?
Hey, Dan, first of all, thanks for having me on. You know, my objective here is exactly what you're talking about, is to get this issue in front of the United States Supreme Court. That's who needs to decide the issue. And it's gonna take some time to get there, but I hope to expedite it as quickly as possible. Luddig article, the Luddig and Tribe article that you mentioned was based on a 124-page law review article written by two conservative legal scholars, very distinguished. Their names Bod and Paulson. Yep. And they present in that article some very compelling arguments and reasoning why Section 3 should apply in this case.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.